couple of months ago I uploaded a video about the first ever Ableton Live, and in that video I did a bit of a live set using stems of my tunes, and one person in the comments said, "Today I learned how to actually use Ableton Live." And I replied with, "Perhaps I'll make a video entitled How to Actually Use Ableton Live." So here is that video, and this is how to put together a live set using stems of your tracks. So the first thing we're going to need to do is export some stems, so I'll quickly show you how to do that. So here is one of my projects, and as you can see the tracks are already organized into these groups. We've got intro drums, normal drums, bass and instruments. I'm going to group the intro drums and the normal drums as one, so I'll just hit solo, hold down command and hit solo on that one as well, so they're both soloed. Ableton Live is going to export everything that's highlighted, and the best way to highlight everything, well, a way that I've found that just makes sure that every stem is the same length, is just to put this loop marker around the whole track and make sure you leave enough of a gap at the end for any like reverb and delay tails to finish. So I've selected up until bar 217. So you put the loop marker around it and then just click the loop marker, and as you can see that means that everything's highlighted. Then you just go to File and Export Audio Video. Make sure you put it on a WAV, and I choose 16-bit just because we're going to be making a lot of these and we don't want the file size to be too big, but we want pretty decent audio quality, so I think a happy medium is a 16-bit WAV. Just click Export and call this the track name, which in this case it's called Side Quest, and just call it Drums Stem. Once the drum stem has finished exporting, you can just press solo on bass and export the bass stem, and then you can do the same for the pads and you can do the same for the lead. Once you've exported the stems for all of your different tunes, then it's time to create a new Ableton Live project, and that's where we're going to put together our new set. So here we have a new Ableton Live project, and the first thing I'm going to do is delete these two MIDI tracks, and then I'm going to click one of the audio tracks and just press Command and D until we've got 8. I'm also just going to get rid of the return tracks for now, so in Ableton Live 12 it's just down here in the bottom right, and then just click return tracks to get rid of them. So we've got 8 audio tracks, and I'm just going to rename these. So I'm going to call this Drums 1, Bass 1, Pads 1 and Lead 1, and then we're going to do the same but for 2, so Drums 2, Bass 2, Pads 2, Lead 2. Alright, so basically we've got the same thing twice, and just to differentiate the two sides, I'm going to colour code one of them white and one of them black, or as close as we can get to black, which is this dark grey. So now it's time to import our stems, but before I do, I'm just going to put the project tempo to 170 because I know that this first tune is that tempo, and I'm just going to drag in the drums stem onto drums 1. And we can make sure that it's warped correctly by putting on the metronome. So I'll just drag in the Side Quest bass stem. Now you might find that it does something weird and warps it wrong. All you need to do in this case is make sure that the project BPM is set to the right BPM of this tune. Turn off warping, and then down here at the bottom just make sure you grab that start point. And let me zoom in and show you. Sometimes this start point might not actually be at the start, it could be over here, so you need to just drag that sideways to the left and make sure it's definitely at the beginning. And once it is, you just press warp. Now we should find that these drums and bass are actually in time. The next one is the pad stem. Just drag that in, and as you can see it's warped it wrong, it's made it way too quick, so I'm just going to turn off warping and then just drag the start point to the very beginning and make sure it's on, and then press warp again, and then just check it with the metronome, make sure everything's in time. And then the last one is the lead stem. Drag that in, and again just turn off warping, put the little marker to the very beginning, turn warping back on, and hopefully now everything should be perfectly in time. So now is when we start chopping it up into clips and putting it into the session view to make our live set. So I'm just going to highlight all of the intro of the tune, press Command and E, and then with those clips selected, just drag them over to the 3 lines in the top right, which represents the session view, and then drop them there. Then you can do the same for the various different 16 bar sections. So I've got one section there, and then the next 16 bar section like that, and then you can just highlight all of these and then drag them over to the 3 lines and drop them there. Next, I'm going to change the color of the clips, and I like to use this slime green color for the intro, and then usually I will just put all of the clips for this specific tune into one color, for example this dark red. One thing that I wasn't able to do in the old school Ableton, but you can do these days, is set up follow actions. So they're a set of instructions for what Ableton's going to do after it's played the clip. And obviously by default it's just to play it again and keep looping it around. But you can set up actions like play next, which would obviously play the next clip down, or play previous, which will play the one above it. So what I'm going to do is, for the first row, which is the intro, and then the second row, which is the drop, I'm going to set it up to play next. And the way you do it is you go down here to where you've got the 8 clips selected, and there's a launch section. So open up that, then just click follow action, and then by default it's on next, and then you can choose play again. Watch what happens when I launch this scene. So when I say launch a scene, I mean play an entire row of clips, and that's going to play the whole intro, right? So as you can see, the play buttons light up for the intro, but then the ones below it start flashing, which indicates that as soon as it's played the whole intro, it's going to play the next clips, which are the drop. So that's going to sound seamless, and it's just going to play the tune as normal. Now with the next row, I'm going to set up the follow action to play previous. So the way you do that is you just turn on the follow action. Instead of next, we're going to put it to previous, and then I'm going to press play again. Now watch what happens when I launch this scene. The row above it start flashing, which means that once it's done this 16 bars, it's going to go to the one above. So what's going to happen now is it's going to keep alternating between those 2 red sections. It's going to play the first one, then the second one, then back to the first one, then the second one. You can also set up a follow action for it to go back to the intro. So the way you do that is highlight this bottom row, and then in your follow actions you choose first and then play again. So watch what happens now. I play the bottom row, and the intro row starts flashing, indicating that when this one's done, it's going to play the intro again. Now that we've got one tune all chopped up into clips in the session view, and we've set up the follow actions, now it's time for me to export stems for a load of other tracks, and they can join this one in the live set. Alright, I'm back, and I've had a chance to put a load of my tunes into the project, and this is what it's looking like. So as you can see, for each tune we've got a slime green section along the top, which is the intro, followed by either 2 or 4 rows for the main section. And the way I've set up the follow actions is, if it's one of these tunes that's just got 2 rows, it'll just sort of alternate between the 2 main sections until I click something else. And if it's one of these ones that's got 4, then it'll basically just play one row, then the next, then the next, then the next, and when it gets to the bottom one, it'll play the top one again, as in the intro. Now that we've got all our tunes imported and ready to go, it's time to plug in the MIDI controller, and the one I'm going to be using is this Launchpad Pro. This type of controller is absolutely ideal for this live set because it's got this 8x8 grid, which allows us to see the 8 different tracks and launch the different scenes. So let's switch to the overhead camera and I'll show you how it works. Alright, so this is what the live set looks like on the Launchpad Pro. As you can see, you've got the slime green section, which is the intro of each tune, and then you've got this colourful part, which is the main section of each tune. So there's track 2, there's track 3, and as you press these up and down buttons, you can scroll through them all. So it's pretty easy to see exactly where you are in your set. thanks to these colourful pads, and it's absolutely perfect for playing this kind of live set. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a demonstration of how it all works, and I'm kind of going to commentate as I'm playing it. So I'm going to start off by playing the intro of this track here, which is Just Chill. And we do have this volume page here where you can kind of bring up and down the volumes of each track. So obviously that's track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what you can do, it's very clever how the volume works actually. If you tap really hard at the bottom of the volume, it just turns it right down. But if you tap gently, watch what happens. It gradually fades up the volume. So it's all pressure sensitive. And if you press it hard, it's like it brings it up or down really quickly. And if you press it gently, it does it really slowly. So next, when it comes to the drop, I'm going to launch some clips from the next tune.
All right, everybody just chill.
So that's the pads and the lead of the next tune playing now. And if you want to, you can gradually just bring down the volume of these pads and leads. So just like on a DJ set where you would use your 2 faders, but in this case you've got 8 faders. And when the time is appropriate, you just launch the scene. And let's launch the lead of the next tune. And I'll just need to bring up the volume, so I'll just tap really gently. You see how it fades up really gently. Alright, let's launch the scene and it'll make it drop. So as you can see, it's really easy to just mix and match different clips from different tunes. And what I'm going to do is I'll play a separate live set on a separate video, so you'll be able to see me do this set in full without me waffling over it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure you click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to learn how to make liquid drum and bass, just click this video here. And if you want to learn how to make jungle, it's that one there. I'm DJ Grace, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.